This chapter is a very small chapter, but as a citizen of India, we all have to know about this. Okay. In fact, most of this chapter is not there in syllabus. You have very little to study for exam. But whatever content is there, we should know because it's a link to understand other things. Next year, you will be learning about in detail. In the grade 10, you will learn in detail about Indian independence struggle. So there you will come to know about all these things. There will be reference to all these things. So pay attention. Okay, so we are going to study about our constitution. So I think in grade 7 also you had our constitution, one chapter. I don't know how much you remember. Okay, where I mean, that also you had read, no? What is a constitution, amendment, how to make an amendment, who made our constitution. I think all these things you have already read. Okay, we will see now what is this. What is a constitution? First, we should know that. So a constitution is nothing but it's a very big, detailed document. Okay, so it's a big document which contains rules that a government should follow when it is governing the country. So, what is a constitution? Nothing but a document which has many rules according to which the government of a country runs. Okay, so that is the simple definition of a constitution. That means we know that elections happen every 5 years, isn't it? And a new government is elected. Every time a new government comes, every government cannot do whatever it pleases, and if it starts functioning arbitrarily. What is the meaning of arbitrarily? Arbitrarily means on its whims and fancies. Now, this year, let's say that a particular year BJP has come into power, it is making its own. Then the next 5 years, some other party comes to power, it makes its own rules. Whatever they feel like doing, they do it without any guidance. If there are no rules, there are no guidance, no boundaries that are set, then what happens? It becomes very problem because the citizens will suffer then. We people have to bear the brunt of the lawmaking machinery, isn't it? Laws are made by the leaders, but it has to be followed by the citizens. So if proper laws are not made, or if there is no control on the ministers also, then the citizens will suffer with all the decisions taken by the ministers or the government. And then the government can also become dictatorial in nature. Don't you agree? If there is no control, then the prime minister or somebody will become like a dictator. Okay. So to prevent all this, we have a constitution because India is a democratic country. Okay. So we have democracy. What is the meaning of democracy? Democracy means it is a rule of the people, by the people. Last year, last year, grade 8, you have learned, in American Revolution, who gave the definition of democracy in American Civil War? Do you remember? Yes, Abraham Lincoln. I can see Ariman is answering. Correct. Abraham Lincoln gave the definition of democracy. It is from this American War of Independence and the French War of Independence only the whole world started following democracy and the principles of liberty, and they started shaking off monarchy. Remember all this? You have to connect the dots. Okay, whatever you learn in earlier classes, you should connect them to the knowledge that comes later in life. Okay, that's when your horizon or your understanding develops in a complete way. So that's from that only many countries in the world got inspired not to live under monarchies and not to live under kings, to shake off the rule of kings and to have a democratic government where they themselves elect their leaders. That is a very major change That came about because of the American and the French Revolution, right? So this, once you get your independence and whatever, see, when America got its independence from Britain, it also made a constitution. And when France decided to become a republic, that is when it started, when it shook off the monarchy. In the case of France, it was a fight with its own monarchy, and they wanted to remove the monarchy and they wanted to keep a what do you say, government of the people. When they did that, once the French Revolution was over, one document was made. What was the name of the document? Does anybody remember? If anybody remembers, you can raise hands and I will ask you. Anybody remembers? Okay, Siddharth. Siddharth, can you tell me, Siddharth? I have unmuted.
Ma'am, Constitution of Man and Citizen.
Declaration of Man.
Declaration of Man and Citizen.
Very good. Declaration of Man, of the rights. Declaration of the rights of man and citizen. This was the document that was prepared, okay, after the French Revolution, which was like a constitution only. What was this Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen? It was like the foundation of the constitution. Based on what principles they had written on the Declaration of Man and Citizen, they made the constitution, okay? And American American War of Independence also, they also did, no? Declaration of American Independence was a document that they had signed, correct? So all these documents, you can say, are they are like the basis on which the constitution was made later. So when they got independent, they made a constitution, and the constitution was to guide the governments, you know. So they spelled out the rules, and regulations that every government should follow, so that the welfare of the citizens is kept in mind. No government, see, these two revolutions made it very clear that the government exists for the sake of the governed. Did you understand? What did this revolutions actually give a message? What was the message that was sent? The message that was sent was that no government can rule for its interest. They have come to power because the people wanted them to come, become their leaders and take decisions and look after the welfare of the entire country as a whole. So the government exists for the people. When it exists for the people, it has to work in the interest of the people. Are we clear, children? So Constitution is a very important document. It's a very important document because it gives guidance to the governments, which come and go. Governments come and go. Every 5 years, a government can change, or it may be re-elected, as the case may be. But every government needs certain guidelines, what it is permitted to do and what it is not permitted to do. Okay, so that is why we have a constitution. Constitution is a comprehensive document. We now have seen the definition. That is the definition. It contains a set of rules by which the government of a country runs. What is the significance or the importance of this constitution? Okay, all this will come as questions. What I have put in the slides is what you will get as questions also. Okay, first is it regulates the powers and positions of the three branches of the government. You all know that there are three branches in the government: judiciary, executive, legislature. We have learned this. Last year we have learned. There are three branches: legislature, which makes the laws; executive, which implements the laws; and judiciary, which upholds the laws or which punishes the people who do not follow the laws. So these are the three branches. Now, the three branches should know what is their responsibility, and they should not come in the way of the other branch. What the legislature should be free to do its work. It should not be bothered by the executive and judiciary. Every department should know what is the work allocated to it, and it should be within its boundaries. It should not interfere in the work of the other branch. At the same time, the constitution also, it takes care to see that legislature, executive and judiciary, they keep a check on each other. Okay, This is because none of the branches should exceed their limits and do something which is not within their powers. They should not exceed their powers. They should be within the limits and within the powers that have been given to them. That is why these three branches have also been given some powers to check the authority of the other branch. Okay. So what is that authority? That is written in the constitution. Clear? So the constitution specifies what is the relationship between the three branches of the government and who can control which branch at what time, when, in what situation. Are we clear? So this is the meaning of this point. It regulates the powers and the position of the three branches of the government, and which is the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. I hope it is now very clear. Second, it moderates the relations between the government and the governed. Government, we know, the one who takes care of the people, and governed is the citizens. We are the governed. Okay. So what is the relationship between the government and the citizens? That also is written in the constitution. Basically, the meaning of this sentence is, what are the duties of the government? What are the duties of the citizens? Did you understand? That is the relationship between the government and the governed. What are our duties respectively? This has been specified in the constitution. Then it protects the interests of the citizens by preventing the government from taking any arbitrary decisions. This just now explained the meaning of arbitrary. Arbitrary means impulsive, without thinking, without having any proper cause. If you take a decision, that is called an arbitrary decision. Today I feel like doing this, I do this. After 10 minutes, I'm bored of this. No, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do something else. I do that. After half an hour, I'm fed up of that also. I'm going to change my decision. That is called arbitrary. Did you get the correct meaning of what is arbitrary? So arbitrary means which does not have a proper rhyme or reason. So the government cannot work like that. A government cannot keep changing its decisions on its whims and fancies. It should have proper reasons for making policies, for making laws. It should have proper sound reasons. Are we clear? So if it doesn't have those reasons, our interests as citizens, we will suffer. That is why the constitution protects the interests of the citizens. It is more worried about the people. So it protects the interests of the citizens by preventing the government. There are so many rules that the government has to follow. The constitution does not give powers to the government. It cuts the powers of the government in many ways. That is why the government cannot do whatever it wants. And that is how it prevents the government from taking arbitrary decisions. Okay, now the fourth point is, it ensures smooth governance for the welfare. Basically, the government has to do a lot of work for the sake of the welfare of the citizens. So it has to take care of all the classes in the society, because the society has different kinds of people. It has rich people, poor people, different, especially in a country like us, you know, the diversity is endless. Every group has to be taken care of. So the constitution, it spells out rules which guides the government to take care of everybody in society. Okay, so these are the four things that are there in the constitution. Okay, this is the significance or the importance of the constitution. First is, it regulates the powers between the three branches. Then it also moderates the relations between the government and the governed. It prevents the government from taking arbitrary decisions, and it ensures smooth governance for the welfare of the people. Okay, so this is what is the importance. Now let's see the next. Right, so now let's go to the next slide. Enactment. From here, we are going to see the story of how our constitution was made. Okay, this is the story of how the constitution was made. you know, this is a story which goes back before we got our before we got our independence. We got our independence in 1947 on 15th August. And the making of the constitution started in 1946. Okay, when we were, you know, when the freedom fighters were fighting strongly, very strongly to get independence, they see the freedom struggle lasted for almost 100 years. Okay, almost 100 years. That was the freedom struggle of India. And in that 100 years, at least 50 years, very strongly we fought the British. The first 50 years, it was not very organized, not a very proper way of, you know, opposing the British. But the next 50 years, we had a proper organization. And before independence, we had an organization called the Indian National Congress. Okay, the Indian National Congress was formed, in which all the major leaders who fought for our independence, they were the leaders of the Indian National Congress, and they were the ones who led the independence struggle for India. Okay, because you don't know all this you will be reading in the next year. Next year in 10th, that you will read in great detail about the independence struggle of India. You will know everything. But now I'm just giving you a brief idea what was this INC. It was called INC. INC is Indian National Congress. Remember last year you all studied that A.O. Hume had formed the Indian National Congress. Okay, after the 1857 this thing and all, in 1885 we formed the Indian National Congress. Aims and objectives of Indian National Congress also you learned. Correct? So this Indian National Congress only went ahead and fought with the British and was able to get independence for India. Now in 1946 only, the British had sort of decided that they are now going to give independence to India. Okay, the decision was taken that now they will not be able to rule India and they have to grant independence. But for 200 years, the British had ruled us. All of a sudden, they cannot leave the country and go, and cannot transfer without transferring the power into, you know, proper hands. Don't you think? When a person, like, you know, suppose somebody who is in an important position is vacating his position and he is going to give the charge to another person who is coming in his place, he has to hand over everything that he was doing in a proper way, so that, you know, there is no confusion, and then he has to go. Similarly, the British government had to hand over all the, you know, the governance of India in the hands of capable people, rulers and leaders of India, and then only they had to leave India and go. So what did they say? They say you prepare a constitution. They said once the powers come into your hands, when you have to start governing yourself, you need a document which will give you guidance. So they said, come on, undertake the task of making your own constitution. Start preparing the constitution. So that's when in 1946, a group was formed which was given the task of making the constitution. And this group was called the Constituent Assembly. Now you understood? The Constituent Assembly was the group which was given the task to draw up the constitution. To draw up means to make the constitution, not to draw. Some children, you know, have this thing. Drawing means it's not drawing. Sketching and drawing. Okay? Draw up the constitution means to make the constitution, to specify the rules of the constitution. Then at that time, just like INC was there, Muslim League. Last year you learnt about Muslim League also. Okay, Muslim League was formed to protect the interests of the Muslims. The objectives, the aims and objectives of Muslim League also you studied. To be loyal to the British, not to have any hostility with other communities, to protect the interests of the Muslim community. You have read all these things. So you need to keep remembering your earlier knowledge. You can't forget it. The moment you write your exams, you can't forget everything. Okay. You have to keep connecting that knowledge to the next one that you will get. Okay. So this Muslim League also, you are aware what is the Muslim League. Now Muslim League and INC were two important political parties before uh, before we got independence. By that time, the Muslim League had started demanding a separate country for Muslims. Okay, in 1946. By this time, Muslim League did not want to be a part of India. They feared that they will not get their rights if they are part of India. Muslims will not get their rights. So they started asking for a separate country. Okay, they said they want Muslims should have a Muslim dominated area should form one country. And then the decision was taken that a Pakistan will be formed. Okay, so they decided that they will break away and a new country called Pakistan will be formed. So once that decision was taken, all the Muslim members of the Constituent Assembly, they resigned from the Constituent Assembly. Okay, so initially the Constituent Assembly had members of the Muslim League also, and it was how many members were there? About 385 people were there in the Constituent Assembly. Okay, but later on, how many members came? 299. They were reduced to 299 because the Muslim League left. So they left and then the group became small. Now there was no point for them to stay in the Constituent Assembly because there will be a new constitution which will be made for Pakistan. So they have to become busy with making a constitution for Pakistan. So after they left, the remaining members of the Constituent Assembly, they carried on their work. They carried on their work to make the constitution for India. Okay. Then who was made the president? Dr. Rajendra Prasad was made the president of the Constituent Assembly. Now I told you this Constituent Assembly, children, it was a very big group. Imagine, even after the Muslim League left the Constituent Assembly, how many were there? There were about 299 members. 299, like 300 people were there who were involved in this task. So the leader of that group was the president of the Constituent Assembly, who was Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Now the Constituent Assembly had members from all sections of society. When India decided to get its independence and make its constitution, it was very particular that it has to make a constitution which will take care of everybody in our society, especially India, being India, you know, all sorts of people. We have all linguistic groups are there, different languages, different cultures, different religions. Then social classes, there are some people who are very poor, rich, middle class, all sorts of people are there. So the group that was made was a very diverse group. What did they do? They got people from all the provinces, from all parts of the country. They got the representative, and they got representatives from all professions also. There were doctors, there were lawyers, and different religions also. So everybody was represented. So Sikhs were represented, Anglo-Indians were represented, Indian Christians are Christians who got converted, Indians who got converted to Christianity. Indian Christians were represented. Some Muslims decided not to join Pakistan and they wanted to be in India only. So the Muslims of India, for them also there were one or two members of Muslim members who were there in the constitution. Then all from those, you know, the socially backward classes. Okay, those days they were not called scheduled castes and all, but today they are called scheduled castes. We call them by the name of scheduled caste. So in those days, they were called the socially economically backward classes. So those classes, people from those classes also we had representations. So everybody, the Constituent Assembly was such a diverse group. It was a very big group and it had representatives from all sections of society, only to ensure that no section of society is, ignored. And while making the constitution, we should not ignore any part which, after independence, nobody should feel that this is not my country. all Indians should feel that their rights have been protected. So that is why this was the reason why so many people were there. And we can imagine if there was such a big and diverse group, all the debates and everything, how difficult it will be to make the constitution. Just imagine if we want to make one rule, all of them have to agree. And because they are from different backgrounds and different this thing, it is very difficult to make all of them agree. So deliberations were strong. The meaning of that is that there were a lot of heated discussions, lot of time it took to convince every group to agree to some common rules, because these are all rules for us. It's a common rule for everybody in the country. So it took a terribly long time to draw up the constitution. So you can see in this, what do you say? You can see in this cartoon. This is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he was the person who actually wrote all the clauses and everything. He and his group of people had the people who wrote the constitution. And here you can see Jawaharlal Nehru, who was our first prime minister, who is actually driving Dr. Ambedkar, and he's sitting on the constitution, which is like a snail. So the snail represents the time that it took to make the constitution. It was so slow. So it was moving at a slow pace, as a snail's pace. And Jawaharlal Nehru ji, he was like, he was driving them to do it faster. So how much time did it take? It almost took 3 years. It almost took 3 years to form the constitution. So it was not probably the longest time it must have taken. Okay. So because of the nature of India and its composition, it took such a long time to make the constitution. Now 8 committees were there. Okay. There were 8 committees in that 299 group, major committees. There were many small committees also, but major committees, there were 8 committees. And the chairman, each committee had its own chairman. I told you the entire Constituent Assembly had one leader. He's the president of the Constituent Assembly, that is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. Under Dr. Rajendra Prasad, 8 committees were formed, and each committee had its own chairman. And the one such committee was the drafting committee. So the drafting committee, chairman of drafting committee was Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. That is why he is called the father of the constitution, because the drafting committee was given the actual task of writing everything in legal language. See, though all the decisions were taken, what rules must be put in the constitution, all the 8 committees together, they have decided and they have debated and everything. But actually to write it down in proper legal language, that was the task of the drafting committee. And Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was the leader of the drafting committee, or he was the chairman of the drafting committee. That is why he's called the father of the Indian Constitution. Okay. Because the drafting committee had the task of framing and drafting the constitution. You can see in this cartoon, this baby represents the constitution, and this is B.R. Ambedkar. So he showed, this is a cartoon from 1950, January 24th, 1950, Hindustan Times. This cartoon is from that time, where they are representing him as the father of the constitution. So that's how they started making the constitution. So now we have to see what were the objectives before making the constitution. Jawaharlal Nehru, he laid out the goals. He said that you must keep this in mind before putting any rule or any law or anything in the constitution. You have to keep in mind these things. This is what he told the Constituent Assembly. What was that? He said that free India will be a republic. Free India will be a republic means it will not be ruled by a king. It will be ruled by an elected representative by a process of election. So election will be conducted. People will choose their leader. The leader will only rule the country. And that is the meaning of republic. India, free India will be a republic. And democracy will be granted to everybody. That is, It's a rule by the people. So everybody will have, all adult Indians will have a right to vote. It is not restricted only to certain people. So voting rights are there for everyone. Fundamental rights for everyone. He said that the constitution has to guarantee fundamental rights. Fundamental rights, children, are basic rights. In the next chapter, you will learn in detail about the fundamental rights. Civics second chapter is about fundamental rights and duties of the citizen. So fundamental rights are nothing but basic rights. Like me as a citizen, as a person, I have certain rights. My life should be protected. Okay. I should be free to follow any religion. I should be free to follow any profession. I should be free to live in any part of my country. In my own country, I should not be restricted. Okay. I should be free to buy property in my country. I should be free to move within my country without having passport. These are all called basic freedoms. Did you understand? These are basic freedoms. So that basic freedom is fundamental rights. Okay. So what did Jawaharlal Nehru say? He said that the constitution should give fundamental rights to everyone. Okay. Then he also said that minorities and backward classes, their rights should be protected. See, for a long time, this group was marginalized. What is the meaning of marginalized? That means it was ignored. It was not taken care of. So the socially and economically backward classes, for a long time, they did not get their rights. And that is why they were very, very backward. In the sense, it would be very difficult, even if we give them equality, it would be very difficult for them to get educated and come, because they were very poor. Now, suppose there was no system of reservations at that time, what would happen is a person who is like a slum dweller or something, he has no education, he has no money. How will he send his son to school, or how will he do? So they said that we have to initially give them some kind of push. We have to bring them, we have to see that they also come up in society. To do that, they said that we have to give them free education so that they don't worry about, fees. And we have to, if we conduct an entrance exam and if we take only the best children, then these children, they don't have any resources to study, and they don't have, their parents are not educated. So that is not a fair way. They will never be able to pass the entrance test. So we have to give a lesser, score for them. If a normal child has to get 40 marks, then this child needs to get only 10 or 12 marks. All this was done at that time for a reason, because they were really very, very backward, and they had to be brought up. And this was one way of ensuring equality. For the sake of equality only, the system of reservations was made at that time. But unfortunately, the political leaders, after we got independence, they used it as a weapon. They used it as a weapon to get elected. They started going on increasing the quota of reservations, and they started using this as a carrot, you can say, for making people to vote for their party. They said that if you vote for us, we will increase the reservation from 10% to 20%, 20 to 25%, like that. They started going on increasing. And the poor people, because they are going to get free this thing and all, they also exploited, and they also started voting for these governments. So that was a political thing which, this reservation, why it happened at that time, there was a reason for it. It was maybe a correct decision, but it was misused later. So that's unfortunate. That is our mistake, that we have, misused. Our corruption and the leaders, people in our own country have misused this particular thing. Now, based on the goals that were set by Jawaharlal Nehru, the Constituent Assembly, B.R. Ambedkar, made certain principles, and he incorporated these principles in the Constitution. What were the principles? First, he said that the Constitution will be flexible. It will be flexible in the sense that, see, this Constitution was